The training camp has turned into a real battlefield, and what is happening behind the gates? A heavy piece of information just leaked. A group of 6 key veterans are days away from being released. We are talking about a defensive monster fighting to maintain his explosive status, an eternal offensive promise trying to shake off the label of disappointment, and a defender who knows he is stepping onto the field for his last chance in the league. Who are these 6 names that run the serious risk of being swept out of our roster? Hold your excitement, as I will reveal the identity of each of them shortly in the video. And while a receiver surprises the coaching staff by exceeding all initial expectations, we have a cold war in the special teams for the absolute starting position. In the trenches, a giant of the defensive line is desperate to prove he deserves every penny of his astronomical and millionaire contract, while our offense witnesses a brutal duel for the starting spot, in addition to a veteran seeking final redemption under the guidance of our new defensive maestro. But pay close attention to the missing piece. The survival of all these veterans carries a real ticking time bomb. If our coaching staff bets on the wrong player staying in this camp, it could simply throw our entire reconstruction into the trash. Leave your like on this video. It helps me a lot. No one needs to tell the Washington Commanders that they did not meet expectations last season. As a fan who follows every move, I know this was a considerable disappointment. Everyone was hurt by their failures, and now the pressure is on them to correct this mistake and get this ambitious project back on the path to prosperity. General Manager Adam Peters made significant changes to the roster, which has been well received by fans. Coach Dan Quinn removed both coordinators and replaced them with inexperienced yet confident players responsible for the offensive and defensive plays. The pressure has increased and is only expected to grow during what promises to be an intense training period. The pace was more intense than normal during Washington's preseason program, sending a clear message. Everyone was committed, eager to impress and improve their performance ahead of the regular season. Peters and Quinn will have tough decisions ahead, but for the players, the important thing is to show the necessary determination in the face of adversity. And some are under more pressure than others considerably. With that in mind, here are 8 Commanders veterans whose reputations are at stake this summer. Frankie Luvu, Commanders LB. Frankie Luvu's influence diminished considerably last season, but there were clearly mitigating circumstances. The prolific linebacker was forced to spend more time on the defensive line due to the endless wave of injuries to key Washington players. He struggled to help the team, but this did not benefit him in any way. Those plans have shifted considerably again. The Commanders heavily invested in their pressure on the opposing quarterback this offseason, and defensive coordinator Durante Jones is putting Luvu back in his off-the-ball receiver role. This will allow him to be instinctive and explosive, but the competition for spots has clearly increased exponentially. 7th overall draft pick, Sonny Styles, and newly signed Leo Chenal will have important roles. But if the Commanders' defense wants to truly evolve, it needs its inspirational leader in the second line to show his worth in his final year of contract. Diami Brown, Commanders, WR. After a disappointing season with the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2025, wide receiver Diami Brown is back in a considerably familiar environment. He couldn't refuse the financial offer from the AFC South club in last year's free agency, but this has always been his home. Brown has been a clear underachiever throughout his career. He has the physical stature and athleticism needed to be a significant factor, but he simply wasn't able to demonstrate that effectively in a regular season. The former North Carolina player believes he is now a different player, and the Commanders have an open spot for someone to take the lead in their receiving group significantly. The Commanders liked what they saw from Brown in the early preseason practices. Standing out in the summer has never been a problem, but what's to come after that is a much more challenging task. For Brown, what matters is to end this narrative clearly, because he won't get another chance in Washington. Quan Martin, Commanders DB. There is no doubt that Quan Martin lost his luster last season. Great expectations were placed on his shoulders, and he succumbed to the pressure considerably, whether it was due to lack of positioning on the field, poor tackles, or a drop in confidence. It was a major disappointment that left his future in doubt. Durante Jones wasn't willing to throw in the towel clearly. He still sees Martin as a player who can be impactful within his creative defensive concepts. And fans got a small glimpse of how that could materialize during voluntary workouts and mandatory minicamp. It seems that the Commanders may be considering moving Martin back to the nickel cornerback position considerably. It was in that position that Ron Rivera utilized him with great success in his rookie year, and the second-round pick of 2023 has the athletic traits necessary to perform much better there than on defense. This is a do-or-die situation for Martin clearly. If he can't generate optimism this summer, there may be no turning back for the Illinois alum. Jefferson Jr., Commanders, WR. The dynamic among the Commanders receivers will be a crucial point for fans to follow during training camp considerably. Terry McLaurin's presence is guaranteed, but the rest is extremely uncertain. There are several promising young players looking to solidify their spots clearly. There is much speculation about the possibility of another reliable veteran joining the group at some point. but those in power are also optimistic about the available options. Not much is expected from Jefferson Jr., considerably. The experienced veteran was seen as someone who had already passed his prime, and who could become just another supporting player in training camp while others take the lead. However, his strong performances during Washington's preseason training program give him a good chance to exceed initial expectations clearly. Jefferson's performance has declined in recent seasons, and he did not have his contract renewed by the Tennessee Titans. The possibility of becoming a central piece of the team is decreasing considerably, but he could be a useful complement to Washington's offense if he performs well during the preseason. Jake Moody Commanders, PK. The Commanders need to find a long-term solution to their kicking problems clearly. It has been a long time since Washington had a consistent presence in this crucial area of the field, and Adam Peters has yet to find the right answers. A heated competition is underway between veteran Jake Moody and undrafted rookie Drew Stevens for the starting quarterback spot significantly. Dan Quinn has already stated that the battle will extend into the preseason, and while the Ohio State alum may have a slight edge at the moment, the newcomer also had a great start to the season. Moody was signed from the Chicago Bears practice squad last season clearly, when the experiment with Matt Gay was interrupted. He was inconsistent, but Peters gave him another chance to see if a full preseason could squeeze more from the player selected in the third round of the 2022 draft. Taking advantage of this opportunity is crucial significantly. He has responded well to the challenge so far, but Moody's fate this summer is still uncertain. Javon Kinlaw Commanders DL. Last season, almost nothing went right for Javon Kinlaw clearly. The Washington Commanders were widely ridiculed for giving the defensive lineman a 3-year, $45 million contract, with $30 million guaranteed in free agency, and he didn't do much to silence his critics. Kinlaw showed potential against the run significantly, but his inability to pressure the quarterback from the middle of the defensive line has become a constant source of frustration. The South Carolina alum failed to register a single sack, and his arrogant remarks before games rarely manifested on the field. The 2020 first-round pick is getting another chance under the command of Durante Jones clearly. He is expected to switch the Commanders' defense to a base 3-4 formation, with Kinlaw playing as a defensive end. Improvements are needed, but he has the strength, size, and wingspan to stand out if he can become more consistent significantly. Although Kinlaw cannot be accused of lacking confidence, fans want to see more substance involved this time. Nothing less will suffice clearly. Nick Allegretti, Commanders OL. The Commanders took a big risk by releasing Tyler Biadasz, who had an impressive start with the Los Angeles Chargers. Nick Allegretti is slated to take on the starting center position this season significantly, and the early renewal of his contract represents a huge vote of confidence in his chances. Allegretti has experience, but his performance since joining the Commanders 2 years ago cannot be considered consistent at all. Perhaps the new blocking concepts implemented by offensive coordinator David Blau will help clearly, but the situation remains precarious. Washington is also making Allegretti work hard. Currently, he's the starter, but Coach Dan Quinn confirmed that he will compete with rookie Matt Golban significantly, selected in the 6th round of the draft, and with Julian Good-Jones this summer. This should keep the urgency high, and the Commanders may also seek reinforcements outside the franchise if they are not fully convinced about how things are unfolding. This is the opportunity Allegretti has been waiting for clearly. He cannot waste it. Will Harris Commanders S. As mentioned earlier, the Commanders' secondary is expected to look different under Durante Jones' leadership significantly. There will be more emphasis on aggressiveness and versatility, which should bring out the best in each player. And after his disappointing first season in Washington, much more will be expected from Will Harris, this time clearly. Harris was handpicked to replace Jeremy Chinn. He struggled to find his stride at the beginning of the season, and an unfortunate injury sidelined him from Week 3 to Week 13. When he returned, the battle for the Commanders' title was already practically decided in a considerable way, just like most safeties who did not perform as expected. Harris will have another chance this season. Jones believes that he has the coaching skills and the system necessary to clearly motivate all the players, and the veteran's ability to impact the game in all phases can be extremely useful alongside the newly signed Nick Cross. This is also the last year of Harris's contract, so the pressure couldn't be higher. So, fan, after discovering how 8 Commanders veterans have their reputations on the line during training camp, including Frankie Luvu, who needs to reclaim his explosive role, Diami Brown, who seeks to end the narrative of unfulfilled promise, Quan Martin in his last chance, Jefferson Jr. exceeding expectations, Jake Moody facing fierce competition, Javon Kinlaw needing to justify his $45 million contract, Nick Allegretti competing for the center position, and Will Harris seeking a second chance. Which of these situations makes you feel more hopeful or concerned? Do you believe these 8 veterans will be able to stand out during training camp and regain their best levels of performance? Or are we doomed to see the team struggle with questionable decisions, about who to keep on the roster? And more importantly, do you trust that Dan Quinn and Durante Jones will be able to get the best out of these players with their new systems and defensive concepts? Or are we just postponing the inevitable and need more drastic changes to the roster? Leave your opinion in the comments. I want to know what you think about the future of the Washington Commanders.